Lottie Dottie, hello.
Hello.
Well, hello, Zachary and April.
Hey, Zachary. Hey, April.
Zapril.
Well, I was a little thrown off because the minute it went live, guess who started growling?
No way.
Yes,
Is it
way.
Bruno? Is it Bruno?
No.
Oh, okay.
Bruno's on a horse in Arizona right now.
Okay. That's so normal. But it's
It
true.
is.
Sometimes the truth is weird. So, um, how's everybody doing out there? Wow. So, we're going to talk about a case today, aren't we, Lottie?
We sure are. An unsolved case from 1961.
1. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to wait for a couple minutes? I didn't even get the notification yet.
I don't think I did either. Sure.
So we'll wait a couple minutes until, at least the notification goes out, and then we'll start talking about it.
Oh, there it is.
Did you get it?
Yes, I just did.
Okay, cool.
April, I don't know that we'll solve it. Wouldn't that be something? Hey, Kevin.
That would be amazing.
Zachary, I hope you're feeling better. I've been thinking about you a lot.
Oh, that's right. Poor Zach.
I know.
Kevin, hello. Oh, wow. We don't have any wrenches in here, do we?
Oh, probably not. Hey, Georgia. Probably not.
Oh, hi, Georgia.
We will swiftly remedy all of that.
1 second here. Bear with me. And anybody listening to this on the replay, feel free to fast forward. And before you do that, though, make sure you like and subscribe. That'd be perfect. Thanks.
Hey,
Appreciate
Dee,
that.
how are you?
Hi, Dee.
Oh, Zach, a little better, but still lost, I'm sure.
All right. That takes time. Haven't seen Dee in a minute.
No, I haven't.
Good to see you.
It is.
So today we are going to be talking about a case about Joan Risch, and it happened in the 1960s.
Right outside of Boston.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want to begin?
Sure.
Or do you want to wait still? Because we could wait. We could wait all night if you want. Got nothing but time.
I do. I have nothing but time because it is currently 49 degrees here. I'm still.
Oh no!
I got
it really?
Yeah, I got a taste of spring last week, so I'm just sitting here waiting.
Hi,
Lucky Grandma.
I'm trying to see what it's like. In the 50s here. That's not too bad.
Hush. Okay.
All right. Okay, so now that I got that part taken care of with some of the wrenches, this, we have that going on. Okay, so Lottie, I'm gonna start with this story. Okay,
let's do it.
Okay. All right, so first of all, the following story, just so you guys know, contains graphic content and viewer listener discretion is advised. We're going to start off by telling what we learned about the story, and then we'll read comments from the chat with your theories. So please don't think that we are ignoring you during this. And feel free to chat with each other. With that said, Lottie, let's get started, okay?
Okay.
Joan Risch was born as Joan Carolyn Bard on May 12, 1930 in Brooklyn, New York, to Harold and Josephine Bard. She and her parents moved to New Jersey when she was 9 years old. Soon after, there was a mysterious house fire, which sadly claimed the life of Joan's parents and family dog, a German Shepherd, who was a former police dog. Joan was not harmed. The fire was deemed suspicious, though. A neighbor stated that their dog had always barked when anyone was near their apartment. However, no one heard the dog bark that night, and when they found the deceased dog later in the basement, he was wrapped up in a blanket, It appeared that the dog was put to sleep before the fire was started.
Joan
Lottie?
was suddenly an orphan. She was sent to live with relatives who later formally adopted her. She took the surname of Natras and applied for a Social Security card under that name as well. On a side note, it was later reported that Joan had confided to a friend that she had been sexually abused as a child, possibly by her foster adopted father, though this has not been confirmed. Joan graduated in 1952 from Wilson College in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, with a degree in English literature. She then began working at a publishing firm, starting out as a secretary, which led to supervising the secretarial pool. Eventually, she became an editorial assistant at Harcourt, Brace, and World, and later Thomas Y. Crowell. Yay! In 1956, she married an executive at one of the companies. His name was Martin Risch. She decided to leave her work to raise a family with Martin.
Joan and Martin had their first child, Lillian, in 1957, while living in Ridgefield, Connecticut. And their son, David, was born in 1959. They moved to Lincoln, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston, in 1961. They appeared to be a happy, loving family, with Joan volunteering at the League of Women Voters, while Martin had a career with the Fitchburg Paper Company. Joan had told her friends that she had aspirations of becoming a teacher after her children were a little bit older.
On October 24th, 1961, Martin got up early and took an 8 a.m. flight from Logan Airport to New York City for a planned business trip. Soon after he left the house, Joan woke the children and fed them breakfast. She got them dressed and dropped David at her neighbor, Barbara Barker's house, so she could go to a dental appointment to have a cavity filled. She brought Lillian with her. Before her dental appointment, Joan went to the bank to cash a personal $40 check. After the appointment, Joan and Lillian went on a little shopping trip at a local department store. I'm so sorry. Spending $30 of the $40. According to the milkman and mailman that had visited that day, all seemed to be normal at Old Bedford Road, the residence, when they made their deliveries, as Joan was gone at her appointments.
After returning home and retrieving David from the Barker's residence, she and the children arrived back at their house at about 11:15 a.m. Soon after, a delivery driver for a dry cleaner came to pick up Martin's suits for cleaning. While there, he reported that Mrs. Risch seemed to be fine and nothing was out of the ordinary. When the driver left, Joan changed out of her more formal clothes into a blue house dress and white sneakers.
She then made lunch for the children and put David, 2 years old, down for his afternoon nap, which usually lasted until 2 p.m. At 1 p.m., Barbara, the neighbor, brought her son Douglas, 4 years old, the same age as Lillian, over for a play date. Shortly before 2 p.m., Joan then took Lillian and Douglas back over to the Barkers' backyard to play with Douglas at the swing set. Apparently, Barbara Barker wasn't aware that Joan had brought them back, or brought Lillian with Douglas, as she was inside at the time.
About 2:15 p.m., Barbara briefly saw Joan wearing a trench coat over her clothes, hurrying up Joan's driveway with outstretched arms, appearing to be carrying something red from her car toward the garage. She assumed that Joan was chasing after one of her kids. This was the last confirmed sighting of Joan Risch. An hour or so later, Virginia Keene, daughter of the Risch's next-door neighbors, said she saw an unfamiliar car, possibly two-tone blue and dirty, backing out of either the Keenes or the Risch's driveway. Virginia and her mother said there was no car in their own driveway at the time.
Barbara then took Lillian back home at 3:40 because she needed to take her own children on a shopping trip. She dropped Lillian off without taking her inside. Since Joan didn't lock the door, and she figured she'd make it inside on her own, when she came home about 4:15, Lillian was standing on her lawn. Lillian told her that Mommy wasn't home, that her brother was in the crib crying, and there was red paint all over the kitchen. Barbara went to investigate what Lillian had told her, walking into the horrific, bloody scene in the kitchen, obviously not red paint, and then called the police at 4:33 p.m.
Sergeant Mike McHugh of the Lincoln Police arrived 5 minutes later. In the kitchen, he found the bloody smears on the walls, an overturned table, and the handset of the wall-mounted telephone ripped loose, with blood in the dial holes, and thrown in the wastebasket, which had been taken from its usual place under the sink and left in the middle of the floor. The telephone directory book was turned to the emergency numbers section, which was blank. Back then, they had no 911. Another thing they noted was that the wastebasket had an empty bottle of alcohol, which Martin Risch confirmed that they had consumed together the previous evening. However, there were also empty beer bottles in the bin that Martin did not know where they came from. Inside the house, they found Joan's trench coat left behind with $10, $90 modern money. McHugh assumed Joan committed suicide and searched the property for her body. When he failed to find her there, he called for backup and alerted the police chief, Leo Elgio, and that they could possibly need the entire department to be involved.
There were blood smears on the walls and the floors of the kitchen and on the phone. 3 bloody fingerprints were unidentified, and they couldn't determine if they were Joan's since she was missing. One of the blood smears looked as if someone were trying to climb up the wall out of fear. There was a roll of paper towels on the floor of the kitchen, and one had been used to wipe up blood, perhaps off of a hand. A pair of coveralls and a pair of underpants, both belonging to David, the son, were found on the floor, possibly used to clean up the blood. The coveralls looked pressed into the floor as if someone was lying on top of them for a bit. There was blood found elsewhere as well. A drop at the first step of the stairway, 2 drops at the top of the stairs, along with 8 drops in the master bedroom and 1 in the kids' bedroom, near the window. Another trail of blood led out the kitchen into the driveway. It ended at Joan's car, which was stained in 3 places: the right rear fender, the left side of the hood near the windshield, and the very center of the trunk. Investigators found this last one really hard to decipher.
They found no footprints in the blood, which was very unusual. The blood was found to be type O, of which Joan purportedly had the same type. The amount of blood lost was approximately half a pint, which seemed to add up to a severe wound, but was more than likely non-life-threatening. The authorities confirmed that Martin Risch's alibi checked out and that he had planned this trip well in advance. He was ruled out as a suspect of Joan's disappearance.
They searched for Joan, but were unable to ever find her body. Martin never gave up hope that she'd one day call again. He never had her declared legally dead. He believed she had amnesia, would snap out of it some way and try to call them, so he kept the same phone number until his death in 2009.
Okay, possible sightings of Joan. At 2:45 p.m. that afternoon, a woman wearing similar clothing to what Joan had last been seen in was walking along the north side of Route 2A, west of its junction with Old Bedford, their residence, headed toward Concord. She appeared to be cold, hunched over, and untidy.
Another woman, similarly dressed, with blood running down her legs, was seen walking north on Route 128 on the medium strip in Waltham between 3:15 to 3:30 p.m. They said she seemed disoriented and appeared to be holding her stomach. Another sighting, reportedly around 4:30 p.m., had the woman walking south along Route 128 near Chapellow Road.
Police also received some reports of the car that Virginia Keene had reported in the Risch's driveway. Their regular milkman stated that he had seen it there when he made his morning delivery 5 days earlier. Another neighborhood resident told investigators she had seen a blue two-tone car parked on Sunnyside Lane, a street that intersected Route 2A near Old Bedford, at 4:15 p.m. She saw a man get out, cut some branches from the nearby woods, and put them in his vehicle. Another man said he saw a light blue 1959 Ford sedan parked along Sunnyside at 2:45 p.m.
The only possible suspect was a property appraiser who had met with Joan at her home on September 25th. His supervisor later confirmed his alibi that he was in his office at the time of the disappearance.
Some possible theories. Joan's blood found in the kitchen was sent to Harvard Medical School for further examination. The findings said that the blood was consistent with menstruation. She might have suffered from a sudden hemorrhage, which could lead to amnesia. Rumors started that Joan had a miscarriage or had an abortion. Whether it was assisted was unknown. It was illegal, taboo, so it had to be done on one's own or assisted by a doctor illegally. That, or she could have hemorrhaged and indeed had amnesia, as Martin assumed.
About a month before her disappearance, she had supposedly checked out a book titled Into Thin Air about a woman, like herself, who had left behind blood smears and a towel when she went missing. Some think she staged her disappearance because she was dissatisfied with being a homemaker. Others say that she seemed quite content with her situation. Some others believe that after suffering whatever injury she had endured, Joan wandered off for help, disoriented, and ended up falling into a nearby construction site where she might not have been able to extricate herself and ended up buried when the road was finished.
If you have any information regarding Joan Risch's disappearance, please call the Lincoln Police Department at 781-259-8111. Now, turning back to the chat, what do you all think was likely the case with Joan's disappearance? Let's see what they have to say over here, Lottie.
Alrighty.
I did see somebody. April asked if they were rich. Lottie thinks that they probably were because the fact that Martin flew instead of taking the train, correct?
Well, I think that given all that we've learned about this, I think that they were definitely upper middle class.
Okay. Yeah.
They were comfortable. There's so many theories about what could have happened. I don't want to, obviously, like, we've just delved into this for the past week, so I don't want to give them all away. Does anybody have any?
April said all that blood and he thought she'd come back. Weird.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like they said, April, it wasn't life-threatening. It was just like a pint or half a pint.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not that much. I mean, he probably thought if she was injured, maybe she suffered amnesia, she would come to her senses. Maybe she went to the hospital and she didn't know her name. You never know. I don't know.
And it was pretty sloppy, the cleanup. And as far as the hemorrhaging, so I guess back in that time period, it was very common. Well, I'm going to throw a theory out there.
Yeah, please. So that's what this is all about.
One of the theories was that she had a botched abortion. And the doctor, obviously, he would have gotten a lot of trouble. Tried to cover it up and get the heck out of there. But okay, yes, ma'am. But one of the reasons for this theory is that the bottles of beer in the trash, because I guess it was very common in the 50s and the early 60s to recommend that patients who are having blood loss drink beer for the iron to remedy an iron deficiency.
Right. And I didn't even know that until you told me that, I think yesterday or today. So that's interesting that if, maybe that's why she did drink it, if that's why they were in there. Or I don't know. I keep thinking like maybe the doctor was there to help her, perform the abortion. If that's the case, we don't know. Again, all theories, all speculation. Yes. And maybe something went wrong. She went to call for help. And that's why the phone was ripped off the wall, because he would have gone to jail.
Yes. And also with the abortion theory. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, I think that's probably, that could happen. He freaked out and just left, and maybe she was still, bleeding. She didn't know what to do. She was disoriented. She just walked down, started going to the car, realized she couldn't drive, and then just kept walking. Could have fallen into the construction site at that point.
Yeah. also with the abortion theory, was she having an affair? And she didn't want that baby because then that would have been found out. Or
her career aspirations.
Because she already had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, then she has to start all over again. And she really was a go-getter. She was ahead of her time.
Yeah. And Zach, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, just a lot of the reports where something I found interesting was that nobody really knew much about her personality in Boston. Like her current friends and neighbors in Boston, they didn't really know much about her. Like, she had kept to herself. But it was interesting because in their previous residence in Connecticut, when they spoke to people there, they did speak of how she was so okay. She did have big hopes and dreams. It was almost like it almost turned into a little bit of a Stepford wife situation.
I think so too, because it seemed like she was happy with her children, I believe.
Yes.
She loved her husband, but I think she did kind of resent, not being able to do what she wanted to do right away.
Yeah.
Zachary said it sounds like he knows more than he's saying, or he did something, maybe the husband. And hi, Bebop, welcome.
Hey, Bebop.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, Julia.
Kevin said, let's see here. Sounds more like the abortion theory procedure started upstairs. Well, there was only a few drops of blood found up there, right? Not too much.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people think that maybe they had started upstairs and then there was more room.
Yeah, and then he hemorrhaged and just started, hence the blood upstairs. Julia said, or the abortionist said he'd take her to the hospital. Yeah, I was thinking that too. He could have just got rid of her because, it didn't go right. He took her in the car, just disposed of the body or something like that.
That's a big theory.
Totally. Yeah, I was just thinking it was weird to me too that she didn't say anything to her friend when she dropped the kids off at the house. She just dropped them in the backyard, didn't tell her friend that she brought them back.
But again, a lot of the neighbors in Boston would describe their interaction with her as if they were pulling teeth. She was
that's true. She's a very private person and just yeah. Somebody else said that maybe that they moved from where they were to the new town, maybe because she had somebody there that she was having an affair with.
Maybe.
Or they were moving away from the affair.
Now a second theory, which we didn't touch much on in the story, was Joan was an avid reader, specifically on people facilitating their own disappearances.
Yeah, and a lot of she checked out a bunch of books, right?
25. And a lot of people compare this case to the very first Gone Girl.
Which I've never seen, unfortunately.
So
I need to catch up on that.
So good. Where she made herself disappear.
Right.
I mean, 25 books. Because they had her history from the library, and it wasn't a variety. It was all about making yourself disappear.
Well, okay, so I told Mr. Dahm about this story. He said, do we know for sure that she really checked those books out, or was it people just going there because they researched this after she had gone missing? Maybe somebody wanted to be in the story, so they, look at what she did. She stamped, they might have forged her signature or something like that, just to be part of the story. Or she could just really be into true crime like we are. And,
she could.
And she just gotten, people got the wrong idea for it or something.
She could.
I don't know. What else do you guys think besides the whole? Well, the abortion theory seems to be the most popular one so far.
I think that she made herself disappear.
You do?
Well, I mean, part of me wants that to be the case because obviously, I mean, it's so sad. She left her family, but I mean, I don't want anybody to have perished that way. But I really, I don't, I think the move was made because it's like, okay, well, we'll start fresh here because maybe things weren't as happy as as it appeared. And that's also something to point out with a lot of these cases. Oh, they were so happy.
Yeah, you just never know what goes on behind closed
No,
doors.
never.
But I mean, my heart kind of broke for her husband that he never
Absolutely.
changed the phone number. He always had hope that she would come back, and it was just really, really, really sad.
Yeah, and I don't think that he had anything to do with it. I mean, I don't know.
No,
But
I don't think so either. I don't. That in my gut feeling tells me he didn't. But again, you just never know what people are capable of. And my gut also is I think it was the abortion thing, or maybe she had a miscarriage, and she was confused. She went to leave, and I think maybe she did fall on the construction site.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're in a small town. This was 50 years ago, and people saw a woman, bleeding on the side of the road, which to me it seems really odd.
Why didn't somebody stop?
Yeah.
I know they didn't have cell phones back then, but they could have stopped at a payphone or something.
Yeah, but she was literally like cradling her stomach, bleeding.
If it was even her, it could have been somebody else.
That's true. But again, it's a small town 50 years ago. I mean, I don't think that's, but, to go back to that, there's always a lot of looky-loos who, when something like this happens, they want to call and give information.
Yeah, that's like people that commit to crimes they never even did.
Yeah.
Like, people want to be a part of the whole thing and have their name in lights. April wanted to know where the kids were. I did a little deep dive. I'm not going to give out their information, obviously.
Stars.
They seem to be very happy with families of their own. And and they seem like they grew up to be just fine.
The son did have a rough go as a teenager.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was.
I didn't hear about that. Tell me.
Well, he was hospitalized, I think, for months or a year or something, because he was having a hard time. Just processing as a young adult, just processing what had happened. And this is this is a famous case, because I mean, I know y'all haven't heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until Jenny brought it to my attention, but
there's a lot of videos about it.
Yeah, I mean, this was, and it was a small town, and they were living in the same town. I'm sure they couldn't. I'm sure they never got away from it, and it was unsolved, so people just never let it go. So he had to get through that.
Right. I can't even imagine the scrutiny and everything. And April just meant, are they still actively waiting? Yeah, I didn't hear about that. I'm not sure if they just gave up hope or whatever. She would be very, very old by now if she's still alive.
I mean, I think the husband set the precedence that, we're just going to wait for her to come home. So the kids probably struggle with that. I'm sure as you get older and you mature, that's all well and good until you're 14, and then you start having questions of your own.
Yeah, because you might have doubts like, if my mom was alive, how could she leave me?
Well, yeah, that's got to be, I can't even imagine.
And like Lucky Grandma said, it would have been really hard to leave your kids, for sure.
Yeah. But, maybe that was the way of the father protecting the children by saying, she has amnesia, she'll be back.
That's true, to give him hope.
Yeah, I mean, things were a lot simpler back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids asked questions, but maybe not as much as nowadays. They kind of knew, like, okay, this is what the adult says, this is the way it goes. Okay, got it. They were a lot more trusting, I think, back then.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it seemed like Joan had a really rough kind of, beginning, losing her parents in that weird fire and her dog. And that was just really suspicious to me too.
Yeah.
And then having to go to, maybe allegedly sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe she just, something was messed up from then on. You just never know. Like, maybe that's why she was never satisfied where she was.
Yeah, she couldn't find that fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she would have, even if she hadn't had the children and had moved up in her field. I still don't think she would have found that fulfillment because she had a gaping hole in her heart,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, stars, please rewind
Yes.
and catch up, because it would make no sense at all if you just came in and you were just watching this or whatever. But yeah, so it's a crazy case. So many theories out there. So many people have their opinions on it, and yeah, it just blew my mind when I told Lottie. She was like, "What?" And we both been just like talking about it for like a week now.
Yeah. And to go back to the eyewitness accounts, we were talking about that the other day. We just did like a silly stream on Thursday, and we were talking about how unreliable eyewitness reports are. So, that also makes you wonder, like, the sightings and the theories and the who knows.
Yeah, I can't. Eyewitness testimony is so unreliable. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, and then are you getting, I don't know. I mean, and then you're getting these eyewitness reports after there's a little information leaked from the media. So, did this or that really happen? Who knows?
It's the crazy case, and I really wish that her family got some type of closure on that.
Yeah.
But oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Stars.
Oh,
TMJ.
Stars, you can't talk. Oh, imagine if Jenny and I couldn't talk.
That would be our worst nightmare. We would have a chalkboard, and we would go through like 20 pieces of chalk, just like trying to please listen to us in some way.
But our loved ones would be so pleased.
Oh yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, it's so nice and quiet around here. Wow."
Oh.
But yeah, that's pretty much the case of Joan Risch. And if you guys, I encourage you to Google it and watch some more videos on it. It's really, really interesting. And I don't know if I want to show the pictures. It's a little much. It's kind of gross, kind of gruesome, with some of the blood splatter and all that.
The comforting part of a lot of it is that it's in black and white.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel so bad for her daughter coming in there and saying, luckily, thank God she thought it was paint.
Oh yeah. And what's that?
I was going to say, hearing her little brother crying in the back room, not knowing where her mom's at, seeing all that in the kitchen with the overturned table. It's got to be terrifying for a little kid. Hi, Picker.
Hey, Picker. Yeah, and I'm sure that she was whisked away and protected. But obviously, again, as you mature, you have so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure she was protected as best as she could be.
Yeah, and her poor neighbor having to deal with that too, Barbara Barker.
Yeah.
Having to go over there and, comfort the children, and she doesn't know where her friend's at. That's pretty messed up. Picker, feel free to rewind for the story or watch the replay, whatever you prefer. So yeah, if anybody else has any comments, that would be great. I don't want to make this go too long because people that tune in specifically for this will be confused if we have any like total small chat here.
Yeah, we don't want to go. We don't want to take away from her, so we don't want to go off into our silly tangents.
That's what we're known for. We're known for our tangents.
Yes.
But we might do another live or something.
Sure.
Just to catch up with you guys and hang out. But with this one, we just want to keep it pretty much strictly for Joan Risch.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, please like, subscribe if you haven't already. And please listen for the replay if you didn't hear all of the story.
And make sure to hit the all on the notification bell.
Thank you, Lottie.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, we should probably wrap this one up and we'll start a new stream. And we'll hang out with you guys then and just have some fun.
Absolutely. We will see you in a minute.
See you in a minute. Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.